CB show, everybody, and as you know, we are the UK's only programme that's dedicated to your mental health and well-being. So now it's time for our Psychology Matters segment with Dr. Audrey Tang. Welcome to the show, Audrey.
Thanks for having me, Christy.
Lovely to have you back.
It's lovely to be back. I love being in the studio.
So we're helping parents today.
Yes.
So if a parent has a mental health issue, what are the kind of the common things that come up with difficulties?
Well, one of the first things is for you yourself to accept the diagnosis. That's one of the hardest parts because, unfortunately, with mental illness, physical illness, all of those things, it can strike us at any point whatsoever. And the first thing to do is often just coming to terms with what's going on with me. And you may feel some relief that you've maybe got a name for it because you might have experienced a lot of different feelings and now suddenly you can at least put a name to it. But you might then go through a process of finding out about it, learning a little bit more, speaking to other people. So you've got to go through your own understanding. Then you will start probably worrying about, well, how's this going to affect my work? How is this going to affect my ability to look after my children? How is this going to affect the family? And those are questions that become very difficult. You may have to think about genetic counselling sometimes. You may have to think about power of attorney, depending on the prognosis or the progress of that particular illness or whatever it is that's causing you the problem. And then, of course, the best thing to do is consider, well, first of all, is the child, if you've got children, at risk? Now, a lot of the time, I know people become very scared of this because there's always the fear something will happen to the children. But at the same time, we have to put the health of the child first, the health and well-being of the child first. And often, even if social services have to be involved, if you can be as big a part of the process as possible, at least you still have that level of control. Yeah. And so it's important that you take those steps whilst you are capable of doing that, assuming it's a problem where maybe children will be later on at risk. One of the best things to do, though, is to really think about your support network. And that means your partner, your friends, family, even your work. A lot of the time, people are very scared to say something to work because they think, oh my goodness, I need to show that I can cope, or I don't know whether work will understand. Well, the legal position is work cannot discriminate against you. And also, a lot of the time, they do have to put in reasonable adjustments, and they may even have things available to you which you haven't realised because you haven't asked. They may be able to make exceptions for you, and that all goes to keeping as much normality within the family life as possible. Having a clear, not necessarily a care plan per se, but something that you do to help you cope. So, for example, if panic attacks are one of the symptoms, having instructions as to this is how best you can help me cope when I'm going through this can be really helpful for people at work, your partner. They really do want to understand and support, but sometimes people just don't know how to do it. That's true. Then, as I say, when there are children involved as well, it's important that the child begins to understand what exactly is going on. Because sometimes physical illness, mental health issues, they can be really frightening for the child. And if we don't take the time to explain it in an accessible way, we don't know how that child is filling in the gaps. It's not a far step to think, oh, mummy's just shouting at me now, and they don't realise that maybe that is just a symptom of the fear or the anxiety or the depression, whatever it is you're going through. And the child is now thinking, mummy's shouting, so I must be bad. And that child can't express it.
This is so important because how many children now are having their own mental health issues because of things that they've been through with their parents who thought it's better to not say anything to these children. But actually, children are smart and they do get it, even though they don't fully understand. But an explanation is much better than silence.
Definitely, because a child will fill in the gaps. That's the whole thing. And then worse still, they might come up with strategies. Oh, I can't disturb mummy when she's like this, or I can't do anything because daddy's in one of his moods, or whatever it is you've said. And then that child will behave in different ways, and that could cause them further problems. It's very important to remain accessible in terms of what you say to the child. Make it clear, help them understand it, even tell them who they could talk to as well. Because if the dynamic changes, that child sometimes has to care and sometimes has to support. Child carers do express an awful lot of love when they do have to care. And they enjoy it. They see it's part of their growing experience. But they also need to know who will support them, who will help them. And so absolutely one of the key things is just keep the dialogue open. And it's hard, but the more support you can get, the better it will be.
Audrey, thank you, my love. And we'll
Pleasure.
see you again soon.
Yes.